was very specific to say, how does an effective internal audit look like in practice? So it was very, very important to be succinct, to be focused and say, do these things only in addition to the others. So if I haven't mentioned anything here, it doesn't mean that it's not important. It's just that I suspect that these are the ones that really work in practice. I put a definition there. Some of the things I have highlighted is that in the definition we talk about is an activity that is designed to add value. That's by design. Internal auditors should add value and improve the organization's objectives. So if Eskom is doing load shedding, you must point to the chief audit executive of Eskom. He failed to make sure that Eskom improves. So that's how it starts. Although we are independent and objective, but the design of internal audit was meant for that. But it also helps the organization. Although it's independent, the mindset must be that when I go to work every day, I must know what Eskom is facing or the organization that I work for is facing and help that organization accomplish its objectives. But there's a way in which you do it. You need to be systematic and you need to be disciplined, following the systematic and disciplined approach, and evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management control. So it does show that whoever designed the internal audit, the chief in their mind was to be effective, making sure that the organization achieves its objectives. It's not good enough to say, I did what I could. You do what you are supposed to be doing to improve the organization's objective. So there's a new definition of the mission. The mission says is to enhance and protect. Very tough. Internal auditors are meant to enhance and protect organizational value. I'm not taking value, by providing risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight. That is why it's important to make sure that internal audit is truly effective. One of the things that we are doing is to have this type of breakdown where we're saying internal audit is both assurance and consulting. So what does it mean? It means one needs to be sure about your system of control. If it's weak, you do more consulting. If it's strong, you give more assurance. Because it doesn't help to give assurance when the controls are weak. But when they are weak, that is where you do more consulting. If your system are strong, then you do give more assurance. And that's how you'll be effective. But sometimes we know for sure that the controls are weak, we still want to give assurance, which doesn't actually add value a lot. So this is very, very important to have it in your head and your mind and say, this is how we'll go about doing it. For you to do advice, to give an advice, you need to be knowledgeable and you need credibility to do that. And that's very, very important. Sometimes it's easy to do assurance work because it's almost like compliance stuff, but to give advice and consulting, you need to demonstrate that you know what you're talking about. Plus, you need that credibility. If I was doing an audit, I would say, if you don't go through this one, don't even try to do audit. It doesn't matter whether I've got degrees or got experience. If there's no commitment and support from the board and executive, you are doing your compliance work. It's not called audit. It must start from the top, where the audit committee, the board, and the executive say we are committed to internal audit function that works. Because out of the internal audit work, you are going to have things that you are going to raise. And you need commitment from management and executive that they will make sure that those things get fixed. And you won't be blamed, but you'll be supported. That, if it's not there, then it's out. You're already on a shaky ground. And the board must commit to ethical values, integrity, and excellence. If there's no commitment to this, you are going to raise issues of integrity, ineffectiveness, and nothing will be done because there's nothing like this happening. So it starts there. It becomes the the foundation for everything. The position and standing of internal audit is important. If you are the same level, if you are the head of audit, you're on the same level as a creditor's clerk, you'll be treated like a creditor's clerk. And your findings will also be treated the same way. So that is very important, where you report and the functional reporting. Internally, always advisable to the CE, that advisable to the audit committee or the board. And the mandate must be approved by the board. The board needs to say, we're giving you internal audit this mandate and that mandate. You've got access to everything. Only then we can go and do the audit. And if you don't have adequate resources, that's not taking money, you can also fail. So you need this governance done, because governance of internal audit is key for us to be effective. The stakeholder management is also important. It's not about what you do. You need to realize that all the stakeholders have got diverse and conflicting expectations. The audit committee wants you to tell them what it is, the way it is. And the operational management executives sometimes don't want that, they want you to help them. They're saying, but why do you tell them? We just want you to fix, let's fix it here among ourselves. And the audit committee says, I'm looking to you to give me assurance that things are right or wrong. Don't just fix it between you and management. Even if it's fixed, you need to tell me so that I know that what was fixed and when it's going to be fixed. So those conflicting expectations, we need to proactively go and tell management that this is the expectation and they are all conflicting and this is how we'll manage them. And that must be proactive. Then do it proactive. Engagement with stakeholders on the service levels also is important. What are the service levels that we require from internal audit? Then delineate understanding of governance, risk, and control. This sometimes get confused. Who is responsible for governance, risk, and control? If you come to an organization and you ask about governance, they say, go to internal audit, you know that you have failed. If internal audit owns governance, owns risk management and control, then there's nobody's owning it. Because internal audit should be providing assurance on it. That is important, that we actually get a better understanding with all your stakeholders. Knowing your client and their needs is also very, very key. You need to understand what your client's needs are. This is meeting the stakeholder expectation. I'm continuing. I will be very quick here. Clarity, courtesy, credibility, 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 credibility. Internal audit needs credibility. Competence, comprehension, communication is important, and we can go and read all that. I'll quickly go through this one because I want to run to the next part, given the time. This is what the service you are required. You are required to be a coach, an advocate. You are required to be a risk manager, an expert in control, an efficiency specialist, a problem solver, and a partner. That's what the stakeholders expect from all of us. We also do investigations, believe it or not, and we are seen as a safety net. Internal audit resourcing, this is the key, because this is where you do it. This is where the rubber hits the road. But we need competent and skilled staff. We need to be business acumen, depth in assurance, and the depth and breadth in assurance. Communication skills is important. Prudence, this we cannot teach anyone, but it's very, very important. I remember there was a time when I was starting in Eskom a long time ago, I was required to audit a certain function, and I was just completed my CA degree, and then I just gave all the control that should have been there and gave the report. And then after my report, the only thing that management could do was to close up the function. So I didn't add value. So it's important to be prudent and know that every control has got a cost and map it to that, not just to lump all the control that should be there. And sometimes we go with that mindset of just lumping control. We need to be prudent, realize that the organization needs to live. There are certain risks that they must accept. There are certain things that we can say, okay, that control is required, but the benefit that we get out of it is nothing. Again, prudence is to determine whether every audit must have a written report, or even just discussing with management or whatever at that level is enough. And again, prudence is to determine who you report to. Because not everything must be reported at every level. There are certain things that you know that this one you can't report at that level. I always ask my staff members that we remember that you are working for an organization, not against the organization. And that's important. And I'm not saying you don't disclose whatever you find, but you disclose in a very prudent manner. Because some of the reports that we can issue, your organization could be put under legal liability tomorrow and wiped off the face of the earth because of what you put as an audit. So that's very important. The conduct and standing of internal audit, the courage and confidence, very, very important. It's not only skills. You need courage and confidence to go and present things the way they should. Focus on business solutions, not mistakes. Let your clients know that we are here focusing on business solutions, not finding faults and mistakes. And mistakes are mistakes. They should not be elevated to fraud, and that it's a mistake. But the aim when you go in is focusing on how do we help management solve. Sufficient number of skills mix is also very, very important. I know that I don't have time left, but the other way is to get your strategic partnering very well. Know who can help you where you can't. Tools and techniques, I've just put them there, and I can pick one or two of them, which are very important. But this is the one. Robust risk assessment is important. When you do your plan, let me sure that it's on risk-based. It's not based on small things. Attendance, people came late today or yesterday. What is more important to organization? Are you attuned to the strategic objectives of organization? These are the other things that we do, but there's one that I want to go to that says, how do you measure effectiveness? You'll know if you can demonstrate savings from your audits, if you can demonstrate that organization has achieved certain efficiencies from our recommendations, if you know there's a big risk avoided because of what we suggested, the unsolicited feedback, the number of repeat findings. I know that the auditors think this is not their problem. It is your problem. It's important to persuade management to see your point of view, otherwise your communication is a problem. You need to communicate in such a way that management actually realizes this is a burning platform, I need to change this thing. If this happens next time, and it means you didn't do that enough. Number of recommendations not implemented is also a problem. If they don't implement the recommendation, why do we need you? What value are you adding to your organization? And then number of best practices that we share with the audit committee. Because the audit committee, sometimes they don't normally, it's not their core business. So they need to be given best practices that are happening.